Listen to me carefully because what I'm about to tell you could decide whether your mother, your father, or you yourself keep the one thing that means freedom in America, your driver's license. Somewhere right now, in a small house in Ohio, in an apartment in Florida, in a quiet town in Arizona, an elderly man is holding a letter from the DMV with shaking hands. He does not know what it says. He is scared to open it. Because for a senior citizen in the United States, a driver's license is not just plastic and a photo. It is dignity. It is the ability to drive to church on Sunday. It is the ability to visit a grandchild without asking anyone for a ride. It is the last piece of independence many seniors have left. And in 2026, that independence is being tested like never before. If you are watching this video and you are over 60, or you have a parent, a grandparent, an aunt, an uncle who is aging behind the wheel, I need you to stop scrolling and listen for the next few minutes. Because what changes across many states this year are not small paperwork updates. These are changes that decide who keeps driving and who is quietly, sometimes without warning, told they can no longer legally sit behind the wheel of their own car. And there is one rule, the fifth one, the one almost nobody is talking about, that can take a license away completely, sometimes in a single visit to the DMV. Stay until the end because I promise you, this is the one piece of information that could save your family from heartbreak. Before I go further, let me be honest with you, because you deserve honesty, not fear-mongering. Driver's license laws in America are not written in Washington, D.C. by one office for the whole country. Each state runs its own Department of Motor Vehicles, and each state decides its own rules for senior renewals. So what applies in California may not apply in Texas. What applies in New York may look different in Georgia. But here's the truth that connects all 50 states together in 2026. More states than ever before are tightening the rules for older drivers, and the trends I'm about to walk you through are showing up again and again, state after state, DMV office after DMV office. So even if the exact number on the page is different where you live, the direction is the same everywhere. Aging behind the wheel in America is getting harder to prove and easier to lose. Let's talk about the first change, and this is the one that catches families off guard the most. Vision testing is getting stricter, and in many states, it now has to happen in person, every single renewal cycle, with no exceptions for age or health condition. For decades, some states allowed older drivers to renew by mail or online, especially if they had a clean record. That convenience is disappearing. State after state is now requiring seniors, often starting at 65, 70, or 75, depending on where you live, to show up physically at the DMV and pass a vision exam with their own eyes, not a form filled out by a family doctor. Think about what that means for a moment. An elderly woman who has never had an accident in 40 years, who has a perfect driving record, can now lose her license simply because her eyesight has quietly declined and she never noticed it herself. Because here is something doctors will tell you. Vision loss in older age is often gradual. So gradual that the person experiencing it adapts without realizing how much they have lost. They don't feel unsafe, they feel normal. And that is exactly why this rule exists, and exactly why it terrifies so many families. It is not testing whether you feel like a good driver. It is testing whether your eyes can prove it. The second change is about how often you have to prove yourself. Renewal cycles for senior drivers are shrinking. In many states, once you cross a certain age threshold, the license that used to last 8 years now only lasts 4. The one that lasted 6 now lasts 2. Some states have gone even further, requiring renewal every single year once a driver passes 80. Imagine working your entire life, driving safely for 6 decades, and now being told that instead of one relaxed renewal every few years, you must go through the process, the waiting rooms, the forms, the tests, every single year, for the rest of your driving life. For many seniors, this feels less like a safety measure and more like a slow, repeated interrogation. Every year, prove again that you deserve to keep something you have had since you were 16 years old. And here is the emotional truth nobody says out loud. Some seniors are choosing to give up their license early, not because they can't pass the test, but because they are exhausted by having to keep proving they are still capable. That exhaustion, that quiet surrender, is happening in kitchens and living rooms across this country right now. The third change touches something deeply personal, medical reporting. In a growing number of states, doctors are now required, not just permitted, but legally required to report certain medical conditions directly to the DMV if they believe a patient's ability to drive safely may be affected. Conditions like seizures, certain heart conditions, cognitive decline, dementia, even some medications that cause drowsiness or dizziness. This means the conversation you have privately with your doctor, about your memory, about a small fainting spell, about a new prescription, may no longer stay between you and your physician. It could trigger a letter from the state asking you to prove your fitness to drive, sometimes before you even get the chance to explain the full context yourself. Families are telling stories of parents who mentioned one dizzy spell to a doctor during a routine checkup, only to receive a DMV notice 3 weeks later demanding a driving evaluation. Can you imagine the fear in that moment? Opening your mailbox and seeing a government letter that could end your ability to drive, triggered by a 5-minute conversation you barely remember having. The fourth change is about the road test itself, and this is where things get physically real. More states are bringing back in-person road tests specifically for senior renewals, tests that many drivers have not taken since they were teenagers preparing for their very first license. Picture that moment: a 78-year-old man, a retired school teacher, a Vietnam veteran, a grandfather of 6, sitting in the passenger seat of a DMV evaluation car, with a 25-year-old examiner beside him holding a clipboard, judging his every turn, every mirror check, every moment of hesitation at a 4-way stop. This is not just a test of skill, this is a test of pride. For a generation that built their independence around the open road, around Sunday drives and long highway trips, and being the one who always drove the family, this feels like being sent back to childhood. And the pressure of that moment, the nervousness of being watched and judged, can actually cause even skilled, safe drivers to make small mistakes they would never make on a normal day. That is the cruel irony hiding inside this rule. The anxiety of the test itself becomes the biggest risk to passing it. And now the fifth rule, the one I promised you at the beginning, the one that does not just slow you down or make you wait longer or make you nervous in a test. This is the one that can take your license away completely, sometimes permanently, sometimes without a second chance. In more and more states, DMVs are now empowered to conduct what is called a mandatory reassessment, triggered not by age alone, but by a combination of red flags, a minor accident, even one that was not your fault, a police report noting confusion at the scene, a family member or even a stranger filing a concern report about your driving, a pharmacist flagging a new medication. When enough of these small signals stack up, the DMV can call you in for a full reassessment. And in this reassessment, unlike a normal renewal, there is often no waiting period, no gentle notice months in advance, and in the most serious cases, no appeal process before your license is suspended on the spot. This is happening right now, in real time, to real families, and most people have no idea this rule even exists until the day it happens to someone they love. One day, your father is driving to the grocery store like he has for 50 years. The next day, after one small fender bender that wasn't even his fault, a letter arrives, and within weeks, his license, his freedom, his identity as an independent man is gone. I want you to sit with that for a moment, because this is not really a video about paperwork and DMV policy. This is a video about something much bigger. It is about what happens to a person's sense of self when the world quietly decides they are no longer capable. It is about the conversation adult children dread having with their aging parents. The conversation that starts with, "Mom, Dad, I think it's time we talk about your driving." It is about the fear seniors carry silently, the fear of losing not just a license, but the last visible proof that they are still independent, still trusted, still themselves. Because when you take away someone's ability to drive in America, especially outside of big cities where public transportation barely exists, you are not just taking away a car. You are taking away their ability to go to the pharmacy on their own, to visit a friend, to attend a grandchild's school play, to feel like a full participant in their own life, instead of someone who has to ask, "Can you drive me?" So what can you actually do about this? First, if you are a senior driver yourself, do not wait for a letter to surprise you. Go get your eyes checked this month, not next year. Talk honestly with your doctor about any new symptoms, any dizziness, any memory lapses, before they become a crisis that lands on a DMV desk without context. Practice a few drives with a family member watching, not to judge you, but to gently notice things you might not notice about yourself. Because remember what I said earlier, decline is gradual, and gradual things are the hardest to see in ourselves. And if you are the son, the daughter, the grandchild of an aging driver, please do not wait for an accident to have the conversation. Have it now, gently, with love, not as an accusation, but as a partnership. Say, "I am not trying to take anything away from you. I am trying to make sure nobody else takes it away from you either." Offer to sit in the car with them. Offer to help them prepare for whatever test their state requires. Because the families who face this crisis with preparation and love get through it with far less pain than the families who are blindsided by a letter in the mailbox. I made this video because I think about my own family every time I research these changes. I think about how quickly the years move, how one day someone is teaching you to ride a bike, and decades later, you are the one gently taking the car keys or watching someone else take them. This is one of the hardest transitions a family will ever go through, and it deserves more honesty, more preparation, and more compassion than it usually gets. So many people find out about these rules the hard way, in a DMV waiting room, in a moment of shock, instead of learning about them here, calmly, with enough time to actually prepare. If this video helped you understand what is coming, if it made you think about your own parents, your own grandparents, or even your own future, I need you to do one small thing for me right now. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, because I am going to keep tracking every single state as these rules continue to change throughout 2026, and I do not want you finding out about a new requirement the way so many families do after it is already too late. Subscribing costs you nothing, but it could mean you get the warning your neighbor didn't get, the heads up your friend's family never received. Drop a comment below and tell me, has your state already changed its rules for senior drivers? Has your family already had this conversation? I read every single comment, and I promise you, you are not alone in this. Thousands of families are going through exactly what you are going through right now. Before you go, remember this one thing above everything else I have said today. This is not really about driving. It never was. It is about how we treat the people who spent their entire lives driving us, teaching us, showing up for us. The least we can do now is show up for them, with patience, with preparation, and with the truth, instead of letting them find out alone, in a waiting room, holding a letter with shaking hands. Take care of the people you love. Have the conversation before the DMV forces it on you. And I will see you in the next video, where we go even deeper into exactly what documents, what tests, and what timelines each major state is requiring in 2026, so you are never caught off guard again.